Hello, my name is Gia. I'm the co-founder of Our World Foundation. Thank you so much for having me on Gold. Well, we started Our World Foundation informally about 5-6 years ago. It was a feeding scheme which started at the Parktown North Methodist Church in Rosebank. And what we do is we go out and we feed, mostly at the moment, it was homeless guys and people that would come from the Immaculata shelter in Rosebank as well. Some of our success stories have been really great. One of them was one of our, clients, patrons to the soup kitchen. He picked himself up, started doing part-time jobs for everyone, applied for an internship for IT, and took himself from there. Now he's got a full-time job, and he bases that all on starting at the soup kitchen. Because what we actually try to do is make people feel like there's still hope and there's still a chance. So by feeding people how they want to eat and not how they have to eat because of circumstances, it kind of brings something out of that person so they still have that hope. Whereas if you see people on the street, some of the homeless people are just wandering aimlessly because they're hungry, they're drinking, they're taking drugs. When they come to the soup kitchen at certain times, which it was 6 to 7, they'd relax, they'd calm down, they'd socialize with the other people. On the street, nobody really socializes. It's more of a man-eat-man world where they're competing to try and get tips, to try and get money, to try and get little scraps of food where they can, parking cars and everything. But when they came into that environment, it was like a private little restaurant where they'd sit down, calm down, have a chat, talk about everything, and then eat food that I tried to make it like Sunday lunch. No matter what the budget is, it would have starch, protein, and vegetables, and sometimes dessert if the donations actually allowed for that. And then another one of our success projects was the launch of our homeless street braai, which we did in Easter, just before lockdown, which was amazing because we braaied this actually on the Facebook page. We braaied with the homeless guys and just handed food to every person that came past. If you're hungry, we'll feed you. It's our world. We have to start feeding everyone. Everyone is important. Even if you don't have enough money to bath or look nice like everybody else, you still deserve to eat. You have to eat. You're a better person when you've eaten. And if you're violent after you've eaten, you go to sleep. And everybody's happy. I was going through a very troubling time in my life, and the only place I could go was the church. So I would walk to the church, and unfortunately the time I started going to the church, they had their own feeding scheme on Fridays, and I couldn't make it. So I approached the church and asked them, is it possible if I could come on Wednesdays, because I just started working, I hadn't worked for years, and I will actually donate the money and start cooking it myself and feeding the people on a Wednesday. And the following day from that, it was Wednesday. From the church, I think we did it for 3 years, every Wednesday, even Christmas time, because people need to eat at Christmas. And so that's where it came from. So it was kind of like a personal counseling session where I was taking my pain, and then when we formalized, it became Our World Foundation. But it was just Wednesday feeding scheme at the church. Then after that, we moved away from the church and we started doing it externally. So we cook at home and then we go from corner to corner, because displaced people have their specific sectors. So being with them for over 3 years, you had an idea of where to find everybody. You know everyone's name. If they're not at the traffic lights, they're by their sleeping areas. If they're not at their sleeping areas, they're at the park. So we started driving around at 7 o'clock so that they'd get a routine. So it's all about routine and feeding. So that's how we started. It was more of a counseling session. The biggest thing I think we can do, and the actual plan of Our World Foundation, is to have a reintegration and rehabilitation center for male youth. Because when I look at the current circumstances of orphanages and shelters, in Rosebank, a man can only enter the shelter at 30 years. At orphanages, at 18 years old, they have to leave. You cannot be an 18-year-old in a shelter. If you're not being educated, you're not studying, you have to go out and find your way. You can't go into a shelter. Where do they go? That's why if you look at the dynamics and the numbers of the homeless people, it's boys and men between the ages of 18 and 30, the youth. So I would like to somehow find a way to have a reintegration and rehabilitation center that pulls them off, takes them far out of Joburg, because we need to get them off the drugs, healthy, eating, working, getting all that negativeness out, so preferably a farming area where they start learning skills, they start feeding themselves, they start finding themselves and understanding themselves, and then I'd like to have a system, kind of like a halfway house, where from learning yourself in a 6-month program, learning yourself, building yourself, learning skills, we have like an out center where we've already communicated with maybe farmers in the area or shops or restaurants like these, where I will come speak to the owners and say, I've got 2 guys who are really brilliant, they're trustworthy, can you give them a job and try? And then have a different center, because I've researched and the government has a lot of buildings that they actually give people who have organizations and stuff like that. That's one of the reasons we actually registered. So once you have that, we get these guys jobs and then they start building up, kind of like what the other guy did. We give them a few months, 6 months, where they're paying minimal rent, but they're working for it. And then eventually we move them out of that sector and they are functioning humans because they're still young. So that's the future of Our World Foundation, if I can pull it off. COVID-19, there are a lot of good things. A lot of the people I've been around at the moment, I spoke about Tusong when we had our conversation, because I've been taking so many things. So I found that a lot of people want to give. COVID gave us all a lot of time to think and introspect so that we can learn that we're not alone. And if I'm struggling on my own, I think it made people human. It humbled us all to the point of we're not untouchable. And now we look at other people outside and we're like, oh my goodness. Because I've been getting a lot of people who just want to give now. What I wish for gold is, I wish that a little bit of gold can touch everybody, because if we don't do it together, nothing's going to happen. And the show is amazing. It will touch people's hearts. It is pure gold. It shouldn't be just gold, it's pure gold. And as nervous as I am right now, I hope this touches someone, because genuinely, if I can do it, I'm a single mother of 4. Sometimes we would pray on a Tuesday and be like, God, please help us. I have 100 rand, but I need to feed like 60 men. So if that prayer can just feed those 60 men, because I never failed, we never failed once, then I'm sure the gold in everybody's heart can bring all of us together and make this world a better place. Hello, my name is Gia. I'm the co-founder of Our World Foundation, and you're watching Gold. Go for gold. Go for gold. Hi, my name is Gia and you're watching Gold with King Nee. Hi, my name is Gia and you're watching Gold with King Nee. Ta-da! For me, what happened was I was going through personal problems, and the outlet I used was wanting to help people, and the church had a program where they were feeding people on Fridays. I had just gotten a job, so I wasn't able to make Fridays at the time they were feeding, which was the morning. So I approached the church and asked them if I, because I'd started working, was able to pay for and actually come and cook and help and feed everyone on a Wednesday rather than Friday morning. So that's the motivation, that's the driving force. So I used that more as a counseling session for myself to help others, because it's so therapeutic after you've helped someone with a clear heart, without intentions. Giving strangely makes you feel better. Okay, one of my favorite quotes would be, treat people as you'd like to be treated yourself. So I applied to, and it will come back to my cooking for the Our World Foundation and the soup kitchens. I will never feed someone something I will not put in my mouth. So the food will be freshly cooked, it will be freshly purchased, and it will be exactly something I would feed myself or I'd feed my kids. So do unto others as you'd like others to do unto you. Please let your hearts be golden. Even if it's merely smiling at someone, helping someone cross the street, carrying a bag for an old person, a little bit goes a long way. Let our hearts continue to be gold. Let's open our hearts and help people as much as we can. Even if it's financially, I don't do very much when I think about it. When I sit back at home, all I do is bring a lot of different people together so that we can make a difference. And if you continue watching Gold, we can all spread a little bit of sparkle for everybody and make this world a better place.